Previously on podcast 3 above.
So, Louise, the black Luigi,
young Luigi.
It's Luigi, Luigi's black wife, Luigi.
Waited for this moment.
You are not in control.
I've got a job for us. A client is willing to part with a huge sum of cash if we acquire a certain object for him.
Should I be flattered or worried?
Maybe a bit of both.
How'd you find me? Well, friend of yours asked for my help.
Hey, I need to be back here and ready when it shows up, see?
Gentlemen, I don't think that you understand the scope of what is going on here.
Drake's secret will be revealed.
Trust me, Cole, you will be ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, podcast 3 above coming at you on the 31st because we be late and we have lives.
Be late like that. It's 31st, 3 in the morning.
Yeah. It's like, no, it's only 2:30. Eureka 7 is just coming on. Everyone on Twitter is going all crazy about it. It's like that reminds me, like there is like a serious following for like Toonami,
Man.
which there needs to be.
Yeah.
Honestly, because otherwise it will die a slow death.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully there's like a whole crew that will finally Toonami's actually trending on Twitter now in the US anyway.
Well, that's good.
That there's like a whole crew that every night they just come on. It's like, and they trend, they make every show trend because they all use the hashtags and they're like, all right, we gotta get Toonami trending, good show support. So the Toonami crew, the Toonami faithful, and actually I was in it was I, the individual 11. At last, the time has come to take up our cause. No more talk, and then they chop each other's heads off. And then like I can see that, man. It's like episode, I want to say it's episode 6. No, I think it's episode 11 of Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex Second Gig. It's called Celicon. It's the episode where the individual 11, spoiler alert, in case you for some whatever reason you haven't seen Standalone Complex Second Gig yet. It's been out since 2005, but that's okay.
Some haven't.
It's been out for 8 years? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Dang. But
You
yeah,
said it,
so
and then you were like,
yeah,
you
just
said it and
answering
then you
my
were
own
surprised.
that's tops in efficiency when you answer your own questions. But yeah, so in case you don't know, episode 11 called Silicon Standalone and Second Gig, the individual 11 kill themselves, ritual suicide with samurai swords on top of a radio building in Kyushu, I think. It's Kyushu Radio Tower is what they call it.
Right. Way to send a message.
Yeah. So imagine that.
Money, it's about sending a message.
Everything burns.
Everything turns into Moby Dick studio production.
But we'll get to that later on. But yeah, so I had this great conversation with all these Toonami faithful anime otaku types on Twitter as 3 above. And it started off with a whole thing about Digimon. Someone's like, "Oh yeah, Pokemon's better than Digimon." And I'm like, "Say what?" So I had to defend the Digimon because they're the digital monsters and Digimon are the champions.
Y'all some straight nerds.
So eventually,
Bold statement.
that's actually the song. That's the theme song in
Man.
English. That's how it goes. It's the Digimon, digital monsters. Digimon are the champions.
Man.
So yeah,
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah, man. Don't even start me, because it's a whole new world that we live in.
It's a whole new world. Damn.
It's a whole new place with a brand new attitude, but you still gotta catch them all.
You gotta catch them all, but they keep inventing them, so you can't
I know,
catch them
God,
all.
I know. That was my problem with it anyway. But so we got into this whole thing about which was better. We ended up kind of separating, and I promised them all. I promised, oh dear Lord, I promised Cammy, who is at beautifully evil, with the E's being 3s on Twitter. a number of other people who I promised that I would mention. So I'm going to attempt to mention them now. Dr. Weed, who is at only Dr. Weed.
I need the doctor
Tom.
to make a house call.
Yeah, dang. He don't make no house calls no more. You think he does, though. And at Spatu10, who is Tom. And where is the person who has a picture that looks like Cat from Gravity Rush? Jesse, another one who is at Los Mario Bro. And here she is. Femble, who is at Femble91. All some great people, actually. We had a great conversation. This was going on. It was all crazy, checking tweets and all that kind of stuff. So we had this great conversation about Digimon versus Pokemon. Eventually, it turned out that we kind of just differentiated between the anime and the game. And what I promised them all that the next episode of Podcast Here Above, we would go in depth into why the anime of one is better than the other in theory, and why the games of one are better than another in theory.
Right.
And so that's what we're going to do right now, and then we're going to get to some
The Moby Dick Studio Productions. What a shock. But anyway, we'll talk about that later.
That's gonna be like the new. I thought maybe we had tapped ourselves out with all that kind of stuff with our own inside jokes.
I know.
But you know what? I think that we found another one. Another 3 Above meme.
Yeah. I'm gonna see if I can make a little skit for the next show. Something to go up with that music. So
that's just awesome.
It's like
I've got those videos on my PS3 hard drive right now. Like I am so ready for that game, but we will get to that.
Later.
So Digimon versus Pokemon. We'll start off with the anime because A comes before everything else.
Yeah, and the manga and all that.
And the manga. Now, Biotechzilla, how much of each anime have you actually seen?
Okay, well I've seen. I didn't see the original Pokemon show, but I saw, like, I didn't follow it from the beginning, but I saw like parts of it here and there, and then I saw Silver and Gold, I think. Yeah. Silver and Gold anime. I didn't see the whole thing. I saw like 10 standalone episodes maybe. And then Best Wishes.
I don't know why they called it that. I really don't know. And don't forget Pokemon DP.
DP. Oh yeah, no, I did see. Yeah, and then I see Diamond and Pearl.
It's totally stolen from the Prince song. Now that I think about it.
Diamonds
and pearls.
Yeah, I know, right? And then yeah.
Everything is the 80s in this mother.
And then yeah, that's it. That's all I saw. I've seen more Pokemon than I've seen Digimon actually. But Digimon, it looked like to me has like a more cohesive story. Kind of like saga friendly thing where Pokemon's more like, oh well, let me just watch an episode and it's all standalone and that's it until they get to the gyms and they start fighting the gym leaders. Then it's like 3 episodes and it's like a small mini series of how they defeat and how they got the badge or whatever, the DP badge.
Double entendre. Well, I actually have seen the Pokemon anime from the beginning. I remember the first episode when Ash was still living at home with his mother.
Oh, nah, I haven't even seen that.
So I saw that mess in Grenada with Chien, but back in '95, or whenever it was, might have been '97. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about the year of the great creation, 1995, the year Sony made the PlayStation. But see, Sony almost partnered with the Beast. But right. So
explicit lyrics always make it.
Always.
They always ring true. But anyway.
Right. So I saw it from there. I think pretty much clear up till Johto. Up to most of Johto. I'm not sure if I saw the end of Johto though, but I saw enough of it to memorize the theme song. So, which in my opinion is actually the best theme song. I haven't heard all of them, granted, but I mean, like, I still remember Saturday mornings singing "It's a Whole New Way to See." Everybody wants to be a master. Anyway, so
everybody wants to be a master, but only one can ascend to master status. Only one.
You take 6 pure-hearted Pokemon masters.
I know, right? Oh god.
to make
Pokemon.
the Pokemon God.
Yeah,
Man.
the blend of 6 Pokemon.
This is like the crossover. Everything's up in
I
there.
know, right?
Everything's a crossover.
It's like 6 Pokemon trainers have to come together and throw their Pokeballs into the middle of like the circle, and then the Pokemon trainer God comes and he has his own Pokemon, and then he has to fight.
Giga, please.
Well, anyway, we're making a whole different story.
Yeah, that's.
But then
that-
Team Rocket, man.
Right. So, right. So I was like credentials. Right. So I've seen up to that point. So I think between the two of us, we'll have enough to comment on the generality of the anime.
Yeah.
Then when it comes to Digimon, I've seen seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I haven't even done that.
I have not seen.
There's new seasons.
I've seen a few episodes of Data Squad, which I did not like. And then I think you saw a few episodes of X Wars, whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's called Cross
Wars, Crosses Arcs, like Xerox, whatever. I can't remember.
Cross Walkers. It's about, well, what they're starting to do is they're starting to cross breed, not cross breed, but like the Digimon can cross fuse together.
Nobody gonna cross it.
The bus can't swim.
You both can't swim.
But yeah, there's cross between 2 different like Goramon and Boromon and Sloramon and Milamon. I don't know. I don't even know names.
I don't know. I don't even know that one, so I don't know.
But
I can't attest to it.
But then they turn into this one huge tiger red looking mon thing. So but I don't know. I think the anime wise, I don't have enough to compare. I know Pokemon. I know the gist of Pokemon. I understand that the whole thing about it's just the whole anime is filler. And
And I think that's the problem with it. Like you feel like I don't know Pokemon because there's kind of nothing to know. You know, it's like the whole thing is like you said. Today's Pokemon is this one, and can you remember this Pokemon? And the entire first season was essentially just training you to know Pokemon,
right?
Which is fine until after that they just which pissed me off when Johto started, because I just got finished. I literally finished memorizing all 152 Pokemon because you got to count Mew and Mewtwo
and Poliwhirl
and Metal Mewtwo.
Yeah.
So I finished I had memorized all these people, and then you introduced 150 more, and I'm like, what the?
Ash traveled the whole world, and then
somehow a new section of the world was discovered.
Open whoa!
We didn't know about this continent.
We should just. It's like this time, and it's like next time on Pokemon, Ash crosses the bushes and finds out a new world with new.
For real.
It's just
man, I should have crossed the street last year. But I don't know.
It's like Ash turns out to be.
Clue about.
Yeah, I'd like for the end of Pokemon, like if there was ever an end, like this is it, last show, last episode, we can't do no more Pokemon. It's over.
Here we go again.
Pokemon warp evolves.
No, they should have Ash wake up in his bathtub, like. No, he's like, instead of waking up in the bathroom, let's just do something like, he wakes up in the car just before his mom's gonna have a head-on collision.
Dang.
With a truck, and it's like, crash.
It's everywhere.
Like narcotics coming out all over the place.
Pokeballs.
Yeah. So, but if you want to look at the series of the anime series for Digimon, now Digimon has a more structured series. The episodes are not all standalone. There is some filler, but it's not quite like Pokemon's filler, where it's the majority of the whole series.
Right. Yeah, and there's filler in it, and I'm gonna have to be careful because Biotech Zilla has not yet seen it. And he says he's going to.
Yeah, I want to do it.
Not going to spoil anything by mentioning names.
No.
But I'm thinking back to season 1, which is known as Digimon Adventure 1.
Mm-hmm.
There is what you would presume to be a lot of filler, and it actually is filler. It's more, and it's kind of necessary filler, where they have to fight certain enemies so that the Digimon can Digivolve. So it's like, all right, well, they have to go through this so that and at each one of these 7 Digidestined Digimon gets to champion level. And then, then they have to go through where they all find their crests. They all have to find their crest, and then the crest allows the Digimon to evolve to ultimate level. And there has to be a essential villain with that. But then there is a point in that kind of when they're still traveling, and this whole thing is that there's nomadic element to it, because they're all just trying to traveling in a world they've never been to before, trying to find and they're all trying to find food, which is the real part. I mean, even though that's in Pokemon as well, but like they all have to like find food and stuff that they all eat and kind of interesting stuff. But so then there's a point where you will come across a certain villain who has great impact on the story.
Mm-hmm.
Not only in that himself being the villain, but like his employees, so for want of a better word, and then other things that are revealed later on. So even though the stuff before it was technically filler, it was necessary filler to build them up, because without that they wouldn't be able to get to the levels that they're at to be able to fight this person. But and it's kind of, and some of the, and then what generally happens in there is that sometimes these villains are also not necessarily standalone villains, but they are kind of in cahoots or working with the main villain, so that like they know it's like, well, this guy is like a henchman of so and so, or it turns out that like what he was doing was actually he was using stuff that he got from this guy, which is who we're gonna have to fight next, sort of thing. And I guess maybe this was for me, and it's probably gonna see kind of one-sided, given that I have more experience with Digimon than Pokemon. But I think there's just more to talk about with Digimon than there is with Pokemon.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was in grade 3 and 4, when us as kids we were starting to get into Pokemon, it was just coming on TV and that kind of stuff. And I was into Pokemon. I was into it. Started to collect cards. I actually collected like the little, not action figures, but just like the little like ornaments. Really, that they used to sell in the packs.
Yeah, like keychain.
Not even the keychains. It was just like the figure of the Pokemon, but not like the G.I. Joe Barbie doll moving figures. They were just like they used to sell them in packs.
Yeah, they were just like little small.
Yeah,
they didn't have movable joints.
Exactly. It was like, what's the point of having them now? You think about it. But they were cool, and I collected them. I probably got like 60 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Still got them, because I don't throw away stuff. But so I started collecting those. I was watching Pokemon. Then I saw Digimon on Fox Kids, or what was Fox Family at the time, and I'm like, what is this Digimon thing that's kind of a ripoff of Pokemon? So I started watching it, and then as time grew on, I preferred Digimon. And I ended up preferring Digimon to Pokemon because Digimon had that real world applications to it.
Mm-hmm.
And by that I mean that it acknowledged that the world it's in is a fantasy, and that it's separate from our real world reality.
Mm-hmm.
And then, at a time which is not totally spoilers, they actually not really. They actually the Digidestined do come back from the digital world and go back to the real world.
Right.
Where their parents are and where they're supposed to be in school and all this kind of stuff. And they've been gone for months. Of course, it doesn't seem like that when they come back.
Right. So, like, compared to Pokemon, if you want to have something to compare it to, it's like Pokemon's trip is like a meth trip, and you keep going back, and it becomes your reality. But Digimon trip is more like a mix
more like
between
the Matrix.
It was a mix between like alcohol and marijuana. It's like it's fake. That high is fake, and when you come back, you're gonna be in the real world. But meth users tend to just like,
yeah, they like, how do you know this? I don't know, but
get it, but I don't know.
Right. So like it's known, and it's like it's a place that you can go to and come back from, and they know like, but they had like real lives,
Yeah.
Because like in Digimon, in Pokemon, nobody seems to go to school.
No, they don't do nothing.
They're all kids, and it's like running around, and like they don't have jobs, but they get to eat food.
And then they have Pokemon.
Exactly.
But they train animals to fight. So
right,
that's their food.
Like that's the stuff like
Michael
what's his name?
Vick.
Michael Vick. Yeah, he went to jail for trying to train Pokemon.
Well, he did have a contract I did for a game, but it never came out. It was Michael Vick's Nintendog Fighters.
I played that game.
Yes.
but it just never saw the light of day. I mean, they just thought it wasn't such a good idea.
You now that they dying for software.
I know, right?
But anyway, right? So like in Digimon, like these are actual kids, and when they come back to the real world, school is there, like their parents are there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have to take buses downtown and all kind of stuff. They can't. It was the real world.
Right. It's kind of like Mega Man EXE.
Exactly.
Rockman meet EXE, where it's like there's a digital world and there's a real world.
It's there, and then on occasion, of course, there would be blurring of the lines of the digital world, which is common for Japan because monsters always attacking Japan has been happening since Godzilla. But
they could be coming from everywhere. Digital world, the sea.
Right, the island of monsters.
Planet M.
Dora be coming out. But so all these things drew me to Digimon more than Pokemon because it was more real. And because the internet was finally getting popular around that time, it was this whole thing of, can I really use a device to open up a digital gate and travel into the internet? It was awesome. And I mean, hey, we were what, like 7, 9?
Yeah.
Of course, great imaginations.
Yeah.
Which is actually a central plot in Digimon if you think about it, because the whole thing is that kids who have that imagination are really the ones who can enter in the digital world. Once you become an adult, and you lose that sense of imagination that you have, you can't enter the digital world because you don't have enough because it's almost the stuff that you don't believe it, and it kind of wasn't true until something like really drastic happens.
Yeah.
Adults wouldn't believe it, and therefore it was not easy for adults to go to the digital world. But that's a central.
It's kind of like Neverland or something like that.
Kind of.
Except the King of Pop isn't chasing your kids around.
But you'll get into that because there's a whole lore of like these things that were, I guess, really the governing powers of the digital world, which chose the children.
Right.
And chose them and decided to use their powers to give them Digivices and give them crests that would allow their Digimon to manually do things that would have to naturally happen otherwise, and all this kind of stuff. So there's this whole lore behind of, the Digidestined, why they have Digivices, where the Digivices come from, and how that plays into a whole bunch of stuff. But of course, getting back to the actual debate, Pokemon versus Digimon, literally you could watch, and I think I said this on Twitter, you could watch any episode of Pokemon and then and just pick up from there on.
Yeah, you can start. You can start at any episode.
And at no point does Ash's Pidgeotto, who evolved into a Pidgeot and who he then decided to release for whatever reason, does that Pidgeot come back? 40 episodes later, and they're like, oh my god, like a returning character. Like nothing like that ever happens.
No.
Whereas, totally happens in Digimon.
Well, the Team Rocket, Jesse and James, always come back.
And there was like a second Team Rocket team, and it was like, I don't know what it was, but one of them had like light brown hair, and like her hair was like it was like two ponytails and like fireworks at the end is what it looked like. I can't remember.
I don't remember that. Well, but Jesse and James, they always ended their fate blasting off, like getting sent in the air, flying off. Every episode, it was like you could count on it.
They're trying to capture this one Pikachu for whatever reason. And at one point they do, and it kind of seems like, okay, there is that sinister plot, something's gonna happen. Maybe like there is something really special about this particular Pikachu that needs to be studied or makes it valuable, and it's like no.
Yeah, no,
it's just a disgruntled Pokemon who doesn't want to stay in his Pokeball. But
force feed it the Moon Rock so it could evolve. Like
the Moon Rock. I forgot about this.
It was. Isn't that the Moon Rock? Yeah, it was like a rock.
Yeah, it should have been a Lightning Stone.
The Lightning Stone, yes, the Lightning Stone.
I still have 2 gym badges that I did not win. I received them in the same Digimon and the same Pokemon packs things I was talking about.
The gym badge, man. I remember I used to see the difference is now when you talk about Pokemon and the anime would be a part of my life, but then also when I was growing up, I played the card game. Now I've never played the Digimon card game or the Digimon.
I have technically, but that's another story. I actually have like I don't know how many Digimon cards I have, but I bought 3 starter decks.
Well, which
and
came first? Was it Digimon or was it
I
Pokemon?
think technically Pokemon may have come first, but it's hard for us to tell because we were not in Japan.
Mhm.
So like what they started showing like Pokemon on TV, so we all magically believe that everything from Pokemon came first
Yeah.
because that's what we saw first and that's what was popular first. I really am not sure. I think though I want to think that like Digimon, at least the dubbed version, started in like 1998 or 99, whereas I think Pokemon started in 97. But I
think
not 100%
96.
or it might have even been before that. Yeah, because it was. I remember thinking Pokemon was so freaking stupid before I got into it. I was like all these crazy Japanese kids with these little like yellow keychain things,
know,
or, like,
right?
and these stupid commercials. I remember it, Pokemon Pikachu, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I was like, why do you think anyone's like these are idiots?
Well,
And then I saw the anime.
I know. Well, it's kind of like, yeah, it's the same thing that happened to me when I was like the first time I saw Dragon Ball. I hated it.
Yeah, totally.
I was just like, what the heck? It's like One Punch takes 10 episodes, man. It was so stupid. I like Gundam better because Gundam Wing is like, like it's people die in Gundam Wing. That's what I told some guy, I remember. And I can never forget his face. He was just like,
Speaking of that, actually, I hate to interrupt you, but was it not that you told me a long time ago that you got a Japanese Sega Saturn?
yeah.
And then you bought like the American one from Best Buy, replaced it in the box, and then sent it back to him?
No, it was a Dreamcast.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Dreamcast.
that's what I
Because
did.
there's on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
Is it a Dreamcast or was it? Yeah, it was a Dreamcast. He said it was. It was a dude on Twitter like tonight who said like, man, he's like something's up with this Dreamcast. It's like someone tried to like mod it and failed.
Why?
And I'm like, wait a minute, could this be Biotech Zilla's Dreamcast?
I know.
Like
It's-
making the rounds around the
It's
Earth.
Japanese, dude.
Yeah, I didn't want to tell him. I actually
Oh,
know
man.
I favorited the tweet so I could go back and find it.
What'd he
So-
say? What'd he say?
Exactly. What the
What,
heck
did he buy an American one?
I don't know. I didn't ask him all that.
Oh.
I didn't want to give it away.
Well,
in case
what I ended up doing, I did because I was like, studio. No, what I ended up doing was just like I ended up buying a Japanese Dreamcast from Mega Play Video Games. That guy, his name was Jay. He owned the store, and me and my buddies used to always want to really just prank Jay. But we're going off topic. We're supposed to be talking about Pokemon.
And Digimon, yeah, that's true.
And
But
Digimon.
let me just
So,
check.
well, anyway, Jay was like, "Hey, you gotta get a Sega Saturn. He talked like this. He's like, you gotta get the Sega Saturn, man. I mean, the Sega, the Sega Dreamcast, man, because it's awesome." And he had it, and he had like House of the Dead 2, and he was demoing House of the Dead 2 in his store and everything, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!" And he had Blue Stinger. He was demoing Blue Stinger, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's like Resident Evil, but like so much better graphics." And I just had to buy it.
This thing. He says the Saturn turns on, the disc spins. It asks me for the language and date time, but there's no sound and it goes to black screen.
Oh well, it's a Saturn, not a Dreamcast.
Oh yeah, so he's saying it's I could have swore he said something about Dreamcast. All right, never mind then.
Blaming me for everything.
Could have swore it was a Dreamcast. But anyway, so yeah, Pokemon and Digimon.
Well, somebody got
off topic and out of time.
Well, and true. The thing is, like, some poor sap ended up buying a Dreamcast from Best Buy, and having it be a Japanese Dreamcast. Would have eventually.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, and this is before they started checking the barcodes on those things.
Dang.
Because now after that they started checking barcodes on systems. So. And my mother was instrumental in helping me do this. So
don't incriminate your mom, man.
She's the one who said, "Let's do it." Because I was like,
I'm sure the statute of limitations is long.
I know. It's been like 4 years. But more than 4 years.
I'm about to say 4 years. Wait a minute.
Hey, wait a minute. No. Statute of limitations is
depends on the crime, but like
this was
like, let's put it this way. It's like I saw this on the CNN or something.
Mm-hmm.
The statute of limitation for stealing like high-priced $1 million artwork is only 10 years.
Wow.
So I'm pretty sure that the statute of limitation for whatever you did is gone.
Yeah.
But, Don't incriminate nobody.
I know, right? Yeah, my mom, but but yeah, this was 2000 when I did it.
Yeah, 2000.
Yep. The funny thing is that I was tricked into buying the No. This was in 1999 because it released September 9, 1999. I remember.
Year of the Phantom Menace.
Yeah. And then I remember
And the Matrix, right?
yeah.
I think the Matrix was
No,
out in 90.
Matrix was like 98.
Really? The Matrix before the Phantom Menace, really?
I think so.
Dang. All right.
But see, this is like I had bought the Japanese one, and I bought the Japanese, and I got like Street Fighter.
Nope.
I mean Virtual.
March 31st, 1999.
What?
Matrix.
Oh yeah. But well, it was before the Dreamcast launched. But the Dreamcast was a big crock. I mean, people were saying, I mean, it was like, oh, it's listening and it's playing and like.
And the Phantom Menace was May 19, 1999. So
May
yeah.
19? Wow. Oh yeah, because then I remember the stupid game came out for PC. Oh my God, that game. We gotta talk about it one day. It's horrible. You gotta
Oh
play
yeah, I remember that crap.
Oh, it's like a top-down thing with 3D. Oh man. But anyway, going back to Digimon and Pokemon.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
The card game. I played the card games, and I used to play the card game in a tournament-wise, like at Toys R Us. I used to stink. Then somebody helped me with my deck, and I like got a better deck of cards. But I would get the badges for free because I had a friend who was the manager, and he was like setting stuff. He would set up the
You
table.
were the kid that we all hated.
Yeah. Well, I had all the badges, but I didn't earn them. And
yeah.
then,
Hence the hatred.
Yeah, everybody was like, doesn't matter how many badges you got. You know, it's just Johnny gave.
Epiphany in 3, 2, 1.
You know what this was? You
What?
know what this was? I don't know if this has happened in podcasts before,
Mhm.
where like in the original Three Above podcast when I think we talked about this subject once.
Mhm.
But that right there, what you just described, was the beginning of the fanboy wars that we're living right now. From the time of like, well, it doesn't matter how many badges you've got because my deck is actually better than yours.
Yeah.
Extrapolates 10, 15 years later into Xbox is better than PS3 and PS3 is better than Xbox. Like, my God.
Well,
we saw a glimpse into our own future and didn't stop it in time.
Yeah, we didn't stop it in time. We created it.
What you're saying is, you did this to yourself.
We made fanboys by the decisions that we made back in the day. And then it's like it turns out those same people, man, those same people are married and ain't playing video games no more. But anyway.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
Look at us.
I know, right? But anyway, but the Digimon I never played the card game. Now the video games tell a different story.
This is true, yes. While we have established that Digimon is pretty much better than Pokemon because of the actual story, the story development, and the whole point that Season 1 and Season 2 are totally connected and share characters and share the same entire lore. Like it's literally set in the same universe, same place, and nothing changes except it's been like 4 or 5 years in between. So that's great. Season 3 now, I didn't like that Season 3 was, I don't want to call it a reboot, but it wasn't the same. But what Season 3 did was to put it back into the real world perspective, was that they made Digimon the TV show and the card game and video games. And the 3 initial Digidestined, Takato was always watching the TV show and then would draw up and make up his own Digimon. Henry would play the Digimon video games online, and Rika was the Digimon queen, winning all the Digimon card battle championships. So like even in their world, Digimon world was not real. Digimon was not real, and then then it starts to become real, and that's the whole other thing. So that realism still proper impact in there. So great shows those are. Season 1, 2, and 3. You need to watch those. But nonetheless, right, so we established that. But when it comes to the video game now.
Yeah, it's different. Now Pokemon has had a lot of success and it does what Nintendo does best, and it's keep the same formula. Don't fix it if it's not broken. Mentality.
Fault almost. Because I think like this is, which is to a degree, which is my entire gripe with Nintendo in general, that they don't do enough, even though they're always praised for innovation. They actually don't. They might do innovation with maybe with hardware or certain things. They do not do it with their gameplay.
Yeah.
But that's another story. In the context of Pokemon, that totally worked to the benefit of the franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did because every game from Pokemon 1, like the first Pokemon, which is Pokemon Fire.
Yeah. Fire and Ice.
No,
Was it Fire and Ice? It was yellow.
Fire,
it was red, yellow, and blue.
Yeah, but it's not ice. It was water.
Was it?
Yeah. It was Pokemon.
The only failure is Pokemon Snap.
Yeah.
But
it was Pokemon Red. No, it was Red and Blue. They didn't.
Red and Blue, then Yellow and Green, eh?
No, Red and Blue, then Yellow, and then.
All right, I'm just googling it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many.
Then it was I think it was like Crystal and.
Nah, Silver. You're forgetting
Silver.
Gold.
Oh yeah, Silver Gold, and then they remade for the Game Boy Advance the Red and Blue, Green Leaf. They made a red and they made a green.
All right,
So.
Here we are. Wikipedia to the rescue. The list of Pokemon games. Let's take a look here. Starting with 1996 on the Game Boy, Pokemon Red and Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Although in North America it was not released until 1998, which sucks.
Wow.
And in Europe got in 99, which even sucks even more.
So
but
so it was released back to back with the anime then.
apparently, yeah.
Yeah. So they were both made at the same time, relatively.
But this is interesting. It says Red and Blue. It says known in Japan as blah 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 blah. Red, blah 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 blah. Blue, blah 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 blah. Green, respectively. It says are the first titles.
Green.
Yeah, Red and Green are sold first in Japan, with Blue released a few months later with updated graphics and dialogue. The American releases were Blue and Red, featuring the Pokemon distribution of Japanese Red and Green and the updates from the Japanese Blue. And
so
enhanced remake was so wow.
There was 3, but we only got 2 with the updated.
Right, the 3 games combined of Soul right. And then it's like an enhanced remake was released in 2004 as Pokemon Red, Fire Red, and Leaf Green.
Right, Leaf Green and Fire. That's what everybody got.
Right.
Huh.
But yeah, so originally we got Pokemon Red and Blue, which was really kind of a mix-up of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green, the Japanese versions.
Great.
Then there was Pokemon Yellow, which is a special Pikachu edition.
Yeah, I have that one still.
Right. Then there was Pokemon Gold and Silver, which everybody remembers. Is that the first Game Boy Color ones?
Yeah, that's the first Game Boy Color one.
No, Pokemon Yellow was Game Boy Color.
Yeah, no, yeah, right. Yellow was the first Game Boy Color one.
And then Silver and Gold. Man, I remember Silver and Gold so bad. I remember those years, man. 2000. I remember there was a Circuit City was still a thing back then, and they had this thing where it's like this is how they trick little kids, man. Because in the newspaper,
this is how they trick children, man.
In the newspaper,
what?
There was an ad for back to school, and it made it seem like you could buy anything and get a Game Boy Advance free.
Yeah.
But it was really that you're supposed to buy the Game Boy Advance and then get something else free.
Of course.
But I was like, man,
the way you want
and then of course you don't see that. You just see the big logo for Pokemon Silver, and that's all I saw until I'm like, Mom. But and then she explained it. See, and from then on, like I still remember that incident because that was like the first time I was like almost fooled by marketing, and since then I've hated them.
Man.
But
Mom. That's why That's why Circuit City went under.
Dang, for real.
Lies, but yeah. Well, see, the games, all of them. If you look from, except up to the point where the DSi. Or the DS in general, like the dual screen new Nintendo handheld. Before that, they were all the same.
Yeah, I mean,
even the Game Boy Advance games, same formula. It's the same thing.
After Gold and Silver, then came Crystal, then came Ruby and Sapphire, then the Fire Red and Leaf Green remakes, and then Pokemon Emerald.
Emerald, yeah.
And that Pokemon Emerald was now on the Game Boy Advance, but that was the last.
Well, Fire Green was on the
DS.
Fire Green and Fire and Leaf Green.
Yeah, Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green, Ruby, and Sapphire.
Yeah, those all came out on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, those are all the Game Boy Advance. Crystal was the last Game Boy Color game.
Right.
And those three were on the Game Boy Advance. Those are everything before the DS. Then the DS came. With DS came DP, Diamond and Pearl.
Diamond and Pearl, and then new
Pokemon Platinum.
Right, but there was new mechanics for the fighting. Now you can play. Now you can do two. You can battle two Pokemon against two, like 2 against 2.
Mm-hmm. Well, wow, what a
yeah, that's a leap of faith.
Considering this was that game came out the first DS game came out in Japan 2006, everywhere else 2007.
Yeah.
Considering that we had 3 party members in Final Fantasy VII in 1997, is it? I mean, granted, these are on handhelds, and the handhelds couldn't do that yet. So. Yeah. But it's like, really, we're now finally getting to having 2 people in a party. Kind of behind the times for an RPG sort of thing.
Well, okay. Well, let me give him a benefit here. Benefit of some reasoning. There, you can have up to like 6 Pokemon in your party, but you can only use 1 at a time.
Right. That was the point I was trying to make. It's like, because you had in Final Fantasy we've had multiple people in the party, but you can only use 3 at a time, 2 at a time sometimes. But yeah, I mean, of course, this was more of a thing with the hardware, handheld. Now we're all spoiled because of the Vita and stuff.
Yeah,
being PS2 quality almost. But
from all the original Game Boy games, all of them have the same story basically. You just play through the game. It's just different Pokemon that you can pick, and then you can pick if you played the red one, Pokemon Red. Then you've played Pokemon Blue, Green, all of them already. Yellow.
It's just different Pokemon, literally.
That's it. And Yellow doesn't start you off with. It doesn't start you off with Pikachu. I mean, it gives you a choice, but you can pick another Pokemon. I don't even remember if it even starts you off like, hey, you can choose Pikachu. No, I don't even remember that. I'm not even sure. I don't remember. But it does add an extra sprite for Pikachu, like so when you're walking in the world, he follows you. If you pick him.
Nice.
So, I don't know. It's weird.
Right.
But
then after Pokemon Platinum, just to outline these things, because we're almost done anyway. After Pokemon Platinum on the DS came Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which is an enhanced remake of Pokemon Gold and Silver. So I'm sensing a pattern here. That's already 4 remakes.
I know.
But whatever, because I guess, people hadn't played those older ones. Then after that came Pokemon Black and White. Then Pokemon Black and White 2. And now to come in October of this year will be Pokemon X and Y.
X and Y.
Like the ripoff of the Coldplay album.
Right. Or Pokemon Chromosomes.
Chromosomes. This is pretty much, depending on what the Supreme Court says, they might have to mix those. But
crazy.
Pokemon X and X. But
yeah, but then there's there are number of reasonings that can you can look at it one way and say, well, they found the gold in this gameplay mechanic and they know it sells, so why break it?
Right.
Why mess it up?
It's right, because here comes a comparison with the Digimon series-ish, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
While the Pokemon series, like you said, Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Green, what came after that? Gold and Silver, were essentially the same games with a few tweaks in it, or in the case of Red and Blue and Green and Yellow, essentially just the same game with different Pokemon in it.
Mm-hmm.
Here we had Digimon World. Digimon World 1.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best game. Some people liked it though. And that's how it always goes. Very rarely does everybody like the first game in any franchise.
Right.
Even Halo.
Mm-hmm.
So then comes Digimon World 2. What do? They change the mechanics.
Instead of like staying and trying like to not to force it, but to get people used to it.
Right. And then here comes, and what was unfortunate was that they allow themselves to be in my opinion, they allowed themselves to be influenced by the popularity of Pokemon at the time. Because when you get to Pokemon Digimon World 3, there's gyms that you can go and train your Pokemon in. There is from the anime, there is no concession for a gym. Like, that doesn't happen in the anime.
Right.
You know, it's like what was like where did that
you can't
come
train
that came
Digimon
solely
in a Pokemon
from
gym.
Right, from Pokemon having gyms.
Yeah.
In its anime and everything, and the popularity of that probably compared to Digimon, especially in Japan where these games are coming out.
Right.
So like you can see that they at that point they're already being influenced by an outside source when they should not, because their product was strong. It was just that because it was Nintendo, you know, everything was going, oh, Pokemon this and Pokemon that, but that didn't, you know, take away from the quality of their game. But they allowed it to, and then they went off our kind of focus with other stuff too. I mean, now Pokemon had a lot of different games as well. It was like Pokemon Ranger and the Pokemon card battle games, Pokemon Pinball, all those games too. But Digimon took their focus off and did Rumble Arena on PlayStation 1.
Which was not bad, but still, it wasn't.
And Rumble Arena 2, which was okay, but I mean, it was like Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
And then I think they even had Digimon, like there was another game that was like Digimon World. And I don't even think it was Digimon World. I think it was not Rumble Arena and not Digimon World, but another franchise game that I can't remember that they had.
Like a chess game or something.
No. It was like a fighting game, but like more like I don't know. I can't even remember what it was. But it existed. And then, so like you went off in this direction, and then you went off in this direction, and they moved away from the RPGs, and then they stopped making the Digimon World RPGs. I think after 4. And you know they went in the whole Tamagotchi phase as well,
right?
Which the Pokemon did. Digimon did that, but the Digimon Tamagotchi things, which came in the Digivices, which I bought in the U.S. I don't know how many other people do. In fact, I've got my Digivices right here. I've got Ken's the dark Digivice. Very proud of that. The D3 and the Neo D3 is what, as I call them, because after that they released like these other D3s with the kind of a see-through thing going on. So I played those, and those, I mean, they had the same thing. You walk around with a clip on your belt and kind of a step counter kind of thing, and you figure out what's going on, and you encounter Digimon and all that kind of stuff. But then they came out with the D-Terminal, which you could connect it to. You can connect your Digivice to the D-Terminal and send your Digimon data over. And then like see stats on the Digimon, see like the names of their attacks. I think you could train them a little bit there, or battle in each other from the D-Terminal and stuff, and you would see like all kind of background information on Digimon. It was cool. It had its uses. D-Terminal was $20 actually, which is bloody cheap considering what it did. But that's another story. So then we had that. But the actual stories of that would semi-parallel the anime, because they had the same, the same Digimon as the quote-unquote bad guys. And then it also had like some secret stuff, like, and it was a whole map. You could go to this section of the map, you go to this section of the map, different things would show up. You Digivolve, all kind of stuff, collect different Digimon, all kind of stuff. And there were certain areas of the map you could go to and get secrets, and you're like, what the heck is this? And then you figure that out in the next anime kind of stuff. So it wasn't bad, but the point of the matter was, it was not as successful as Pokemon was, as tends to be the case with anything that Nintendo has its brands on.
Well, it's partly due because they didn't want to stick, as far as Bandai is concerned. They didn't want to stick to formula, and you see that Bandai tends to do that with every single franchise that they own, and they give a game license to. You know, it's like
Dragon Ball Z games.
They
can't. It's like Bandai has a bunch of them. We gotta switch topics soon.
Yeah.
But it's like Bandai does like so much for like 45 minutes. Like this whole thing is already an hour almost. in one topic, but whatever. They'll listen. They'll like it probably.
Don't count on it.
But like, yeah, it's like Bandai can't focus on one gameplay mechanic and then just run with it. No, they have to change it. And like
it's like they all have ADD or something. It's like, if we can't, it's still 3 games. We gotta change it.
And we gotta change all the moves. Like let's do Budokai.
It's like, stop it.
It's like, let's do Budokai for PS2 and for GameCube. Yes, okay, perfect. Now Budokai 2, awesome, perfect.
Budokai 2. I mean, technically they changed some
moves?
stuff from. They didn't change the moves though. They kind
added
of
capsules.
added kind of shortcut moves to it, like back and O to do energy attacks and all kind of stuff, as opposed to having to, because in Budokai 1 you had to physically put in, Kamehameha was like punch, kick, energy,
Mm-hmm.
to activate it. So you literally had to do punch, kick. You had to do that combo to activate the Kamehameha and all that kind of stuff. And it was terrible, because it wasn't terrible, but it was annoying because if you get interrupted mid combo, it's done.
Yeah.
And then you got to start the combo over, and you also had to memorize the combo. But that was fine. We did it. We were kids. Digimon. Budokai 2. They streamlined that a little bit by adding some just back button, down button with one button, two things automatically getting you certain attacks, which was better and more like Dragon Ball Z, because you could just do your attacks, because that's what actually happens in the show.
Yeah.
And then they kind of added certain kind of quick time events in Budokai 3. Tenkaichi comes along. Tenkaichi was actually great. The problem with Tenkaichi was no transformations, no in-game transformations. They fixed that in Tenkaichi 2. Tenkaichi 2, in my opinion, probably the best one. Except for maybe Tenkaichi 3. They added some kind of dodging things and improved the graphics a little bit.
Yeah.
So Tenkaichi 2 and Tenkaichi 3, probably the best of those series. After that, when they went to next gen at the time, which was PS3 360, and technically Wii, if you want to call it that, but that's when they went crazy. Like they just changed everything. That's when they came out with Burst Limit, which for a long time was the worst Dragon Ball Z game. because it just saw it. The only reason if it sold, the only reason that it did sell was because it was the first Dragon Ball Z game in HD.
Right, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, it looks so perfect."
And it did look cool, but the game was not good.
Sucks.
Then came, I think, Raging Blast came after that.
Yeah, and then Raging Blast 2.
Then Raging Blast 2. Then there was Dragon Ball Z Sparking. Remember, it was like the arcade thing, Sparkling, and it came to, and then I think it became Ultimate Dragon Ball Z or something. It was like an arcade one.
Yeah.
That they brought over to consoles, I think. And then the problem with Raging Blast was you couldn't figure out the Raging Blast's fighting mechanics was actually different from Burst Limits, which was also different from any of the other games. So you couldn't figure it out until you figured it out.
Yeah. And
it was easier to figure out then because after Raging Blast 2 came Ultimate Tenkaichi, which, remember, we talked about this on the podcast. Remember, I said I hope that because it's got the Tenkaichi name in it, that means they're bringing back the old fighting style from Tenkaichi with that, and they totally did not.
No.
It was something completely brand new that made absolutely no sense. It was like playing tic-tac-toe kind of thing, because there was very little actual fighting, punching, and kicking. It was like you do a few punches, and then you go into a dodge this, and you have to dodge that, and then it's like a quick time event. It was stupid. The only cool thing about it was that it had a character creator and would finally let you create characters. But that, in my opinion, is now the absolute worst Dragon Ball Z game ever.
Crazy. But there's the thing is the point is that
the point
Bandai,
that I carried under this long rant.
Yes, Bandai has a reputation when it comes to games to do that, to just change and it's
how many changes they've made in the Naruto franchise.
Oh, a whole lot, man.
I haven't paid attention to that game.
No, I haven't either. But Ninja Storm
played it and likes it. I think he platinum it.
Yeah, Ninja Storm and Ninja Storm 2 and then Ninja Storm 3, and I don't know what the heck's it.
Naruto Shippuden, Ninja Storm, or whatever it is. There's a third one, which I think is not actually the third one. It's probably the fifth or sixth game. But
how can you make 5 or 6 fighting games?
I think it was 3 Naruto games, Ninja Storms, and then they put Shippuden out, and then they did another 3.
Man, it's just how much do they want to milk it? But anyway,
Ninja Storm, there's Ultimate Ninja.
But here we come. Here we go back to Digimon. Now, Digimon, how many PS1, how many PlayStation games did it have? It had 3 Digi Worlds and then 2 Rumble Arenas.
Yeah, I think so. It probably would be wise for me to check that.
And
I'm
then-
doing that right now.
So anyway, and then now, okay. See, they could have kept a simple formula, and they could have gone to. I know
Dang, they had games on the Sega Saturn in '98.
on the Sega Saturn too.
Yeah, but then we start off with Digimon World
Mhm.
for PlayStation in '99. Then Digimon Digital Monster vs. Wonder Swan on the
Oh my
Wonder Swan.
God.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's the only other handheld they could get because I don't think they had Nintendo. I don't think they could have
No,
put it on
I don't think
Nintendo.
they're ever on Nintendo. Nothing. I don't think so.
No, but
'Cause, yeah, it's just Wonder
this-
Swan and PlayStation looks like.
this time around, there's the new Digimon, which we thought the Digimon redigitized,
Yeah, man.
which is coming out.
I signed the online petition for that mess to come to the U.S. and they ignored it.
Well,
Just like ignored the claims of responsibility from the individual 11.
well, you know what?
That's a quote from the
It's-
anime.
Yeah, well, they didn't say what console it was on, and
It was
then-
on PSP.
No,
But they could have still man, they still could have at least brought the PSP game and let it be playable on Vita like some of the other games.
yeah, well, no, because it's on the 3DS.
What?
Yeah, it's on the 3DS. I told you. Remember I told you it's on the
Right,
3DS.
now I have to become the origami killer.
It's you signed the petition to bring over a game that you didn't know what console it was going to be on. It made it look like it was going to be on
That's
the
what I
PSP.
hate. Not anyway. Bandai gonna get there soon.
So it's on the 3DS now with
Oh,
Pokemon.
that mess don't sell jack.
Yeah.
Anyway, so right then they had Pocket Digimon World rather for the PlayStation.
Mhm.
Then Digimon World 2.
Mhm.
Then they on the Wonder Swan they had Digimon Adventure 2. Then they had Pocket Digimon World Wind Battle Disc on the PlayStation. I'm just gonna mention the PlayStation ones. I'll skip the Wonder Swan ones. They had Pocket Digimon World Cool and Nature Disc Battle for PlayStation.
Mm.
Weird. Then they had Digimon Tamers Pocket Kalumon for PlayStation. Skipping a Wonder Swan game, 2 Wonder Swan games. Then Digimon World 3 for PlayStation. Then they had Digimon World 4, but for the PS2, the Xbox, and the GameCube. Interesting. Then the sacrilege, Digimon World DS on the DS alone.
Oh my god.
Then Digimon World Data Squad on the PS2. Obviously, and like each one of these represents a completely new direction for this game, though.
Yeah. Right.
Then Digimon World Dawn and Digimon World Dusk on the DS.
Dawn and Dusk.
Dawn and Dusk.
God, now they're trying to be like Pokemon.
Yeah. Respectively titled Digimon Story Sunburst and Digimon Story Moonlight in Japan, though. But then Digimon World Championship for the DS. Then Digimon Story Lost Evolution for the DS. Then Digimon Story Supercross Wars Red and Blue for the DS. 2 different games, those.
Cross Wars. Yeah, that's the series.
Then Digimon World Redigitized for the PSP. Then Digimon Adventure for PSP originally, which apparently should have just come out. It just came out January of this year, apparently.
What's
and
the
then,
DS one then?
And now here's the Nintendo 3DS one to be announced. It's not out yet.
Oh.
It's Digimon World Redigitized Decode.
Oh.
An enhanced port of Digimon World Redigitized with some extra content. So it's the PSP game ported.
Right. So
but it's to be announced. It hasn't actually out yet.
Okay.
But
so
then the fighting games, they had Digimon Battle Spirit. That's for Wonder Swan and Game Boy Advance. Then Digimon Rumble Arena for the PlayStation. I'm skipping a Wonder Swan game here. Then they had Digimon Battle Spirit 2 on the Wonder Swan and Game Boy Advance. Then they had Digimon Rumble Arena 2 on the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. And then there was Digimon Card Battle, Digimon Park, Digimon Card Battle versus Wonder Swan, Digimon RPG for Microsoft Windows, which is interesting. Then Digimon Racing for Game Boy Advance and Digimon Masters for Windows again. Interesting.
None that I've ever heard of, anyway.
No,
so.
I don't think so. But what was also interesting, and I don't know if that's what that was. There was when you bought the Digivice, the D3 Digivice. No, not the D3. The D-Power Digivices here in the U.S. There was an online game. you could. It was interesting because it had its own little port. It came with its own cable to connect to like the back of your PC, but the connection cable was it that? The connection cable was actually like a 3.5 millimeter cable that would go into the actual Digivice. It was interesting. But you would take your Digimon that you've trained on the actual handheld Tamagotchi type Digivice, and you would take that online and fight people and you would like go around on the world and fight other people online.
That's cool. Well, that sounds really cool.
It was kind of cool as long as you had the internet connection that worked. But
right.
Yeah, we were still using dial-up. This was like 2001. It was totally dial-up.
Man.
But so be it. So yeah, that's what was Digimon. So eventually we've come to the conclusion that because Nintendo's tried and true formula of don't change it ever actually worked with Pokemon and has made Pokemon what it is.
Well, all they've done is added new characters and new Pokemon. That's
which is terrible because I think it is that attitude that has made the anime not as good as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's made the games better and more palatable for the audience, but it affects the anime. Whereas Digimon was a little less unconstrained in its anime, but the game suffered. So
right.
There you are. Digimon versus. If you ask me, I'm still gonna pick Digimon all the time because I'd rather have the story.
Yeah, me too. I think I'd rather have the story going for it. However, I'm on the fence about it.
I think you won't be once you see season 1, 2, and 3.
Well, after that.
Because granted, I'm looking back in hindsight now, but I even watched like 3 episodes like the other night, literally like last night or the night before, and I meant to watch 1 and I just kind of couldn't stop because it was like, man, this is great. I mean, even though it's still kiddie because they changed the the English dub dialogue for to be for kids because it was on Fox Kids after all. But it was kind of like, this is pretty good. It was like, it's like, oh yeah, it's like there's one section where they're gone to a Christmas party and they're playing Go Fish, and they're like, well, wow, this game's kind of boring. And it's like, what do we play after this? And the other guy's like, strip poker. And then his mother comes in and is like, wait, there's a call for you. It's like, if you don't listen, you almost don't hear it. And it's like, what? but it was kind of cool. I was surprised they let that go on Fox Kids. But probably because it was almost inaudible.
Yeah.
Like, strip poker, but the point being that I actually enjoyed it. I tweeted at Blumsplu, who is Steve Blum, who the voice actor of many things, including Spike Spiegel. I believe he was also Roger Smith. Zabuza. I mean, he's been in like every game. When you think about it, he does voice acting. I recognized him in Arkham City, Arkham Asylum. But I tweeted at him because he was Black War Greymon from in season 2, and then he tweeted back. It was quite nice. But the point being, I would rather have it. Once you see it, I think you'll enjoy it, and I would always pick Digimon over Pokemon because I like story. And speaking of story, I'm trying to get the story of this Metal Gear thing going because Metal Gear Solid 5 is coming out.
Right.
So I need to understand the story.
All right. Let me break it down. So you're hyped up right now for Metal Gear Solid 5.
The Phantom Pain.
Metal
Gear Solid V.
Right. V has come to.
Vendetta.
Yeah, I know, right? V has come to. Well, okay. This goes for everyone out there. If you still haven't played any Metal Gear game, or maybe have played just one and didn't understand it, and now you're looking at Metal Gear Solid V and you're like, oh my god, I gotta play this game, but I want to know the full story before I play it because I just want to jump into it and then have everything spoiled for me. Okay. Well, the funny thing is that Kojima really messed up. Either he did it on purpose or he's just bipolar and he's doing like one thing and then he's going back in time and doing another thing. Like he has 2 stories and he's trying to tell them in release date continuity when the story continuity, Like, well, when I'm talking about release date continuity, I mean like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the story is more like 5, 1, 4, 3, 8. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not all together because he released Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation when I'm talking about like this generation of consoles.
Right.
He for the original PlayStation Metal Gear Solid. Everyone was like, "Is this the first one? What is it?" Like, no, it's not. It's actually not the first one, but I'll get into that. And then he released Metal Gear Solid 2 for PS2, and that was a continuation of Metal Gear Solid for PS1. Perfect. Then he releases Metal Gear Solid 3. And when I bought Metal Gear Solid 3, I thought it was a continuation of 2. I was like, oh man, I'm going back. And then midway, not even midway, like 15 minutes into the game, I'm like, this is 1960. How come Snake is at 1960? Is he immortal? I didn't understand.
I am immortal. I have inside me blood of kings. I have no rival. No man can be my equal.
But anyway, man, Highlander.
I actually watched that series on Netflix earlier last year.
Man.
Or was it this year? I can't. No, it was last year. I can't remember.
But the third one is crap. I'll tell you that much.
It is. It totally is.
But anyway, going back to Metal Gear. But then like 15 minutes into the game, I'm like, wait a minute, you're playing as Big Boss. This is not Solid Snake. You're playing as the original Snake. Okay. Anyway. But where you want to start from the beginning, you have to start at Metal Gear Solid 3 for PlayStation 2.
Why Metal Gear Solid 3?
Because Metal Gear Solid 3 is actually is actually the earliest point in the timeline of the Metal Gear Solid universe. It's the earliest point ever when Big Boss gets his code name as and you'll find out later, but it's when he gets his code name, and it's the beginning of the story and the beginning of all this huge mess that's created with Metal Gear. But it's the third entry into the series.
Into the console series.
Into the console series. The third entry ends up being the earliest point in the timeline, and you can skip it and then go to Metal Gear Solid 4 for PS3, and the story of 2 and 4, they match.
Okay.
You'll have it. But you could skip if you want to play the PlayStation 1, you're going to want to play part 2, then you're going to have to skip 3 and play part 4 because you can't go back. But if you want to start from the beginning, you get Metal Gear Solid 3 first.
All right.
Snake Eater.
Snake Eater.
Yeah. You buy that when you play it. Then after Snake Eater, there are 2 games for the PSP.
2? Okay.
Yeah.
Right, Special Ops.
Right.
Forgot.
I'm going to count Acid and Acid 2 as one game because Acid 1 and Acid 2, they're kind of like a card battle game, but it's in 3D.
Yeah.
And you walk in 3D. And then Acid 2, I think they freed it up a bit, but it's still kind of like a card battle game. It's still cool. It's not bad, but they are the continuation of 3. Then you Spec Ops, and I forgot there was another one for PSP, I think.
Peace Walker.
Right. Yeah, and then Peace Walker. After Peace Walker, that's still continuing on through the beginning. After Peace Walker, then
that's when you should play Ground Zeroes.
Right. That's when you should play Ground Zeroes. And right after Ground Zeroes, that's when you should play the Phantom Pain.
Right. Because that's 9 years after Ground Zeroes.
And depending on the end of the Phantom Pain, right, and how it ends up, you'll have to go back to the old Japanese MSX games, which are probably in the HD. They are in the HD collection of 3. Metal Gear Solid 3 has in special features you could play the original game, so you can just go back to Metal Gear Solid 3 and upload from the options menu. Just go play the original Solid Snake or Snake, not Snake. Was it Metal Gear Solid? That's what it's called. And then the oldest. I mean, it's actually the first game in the timeline, but it's not. In essence, it's Metal Gear Solid. What is it? 3 is
5?
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 5. Yeah, that's the true
Actually,
Metal
the
Gear.
fifth one, right?
Yeah,
it's
it's
actually
the-
the fifth one in the chronological order, but in the order that they were released in, it's the first.
Yeah, in the order they're releasing, it's the first, but chronologically, it's the fifth entry into in the timeline. Then Metal Gear Solid 2, Solid Snake, is the sixth game in the timeline, right?
Right, which takes place after presumably after the events of Phantom Pain,
Right,
or after the events of Metal Gear Solid 1.
right, yeah, right after Metal Gear Solid 1 is Metal Gear Solid 2, and then
Right, even though it's years apart from it, but yes.
right, and then Metal Gear Solid 7 is
Right.
PS.
It's really Metal Gear Solid 4.
No, Metal Gear Solid 7 is Metal Gear Solid for PS1.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
That's Metal Gear Solid PS1. 8 is
It's Metal Gear Solid 2
Metal Gear Solid 2.
for
And then-
PlayStation. And then
9 would be Metal Gear Solid 4.
right. And then if you wanted to be a jerk, 10 could be Revengeance.
Right, if you want to, yeah, 10 would be Revengeance if you want to. So there's 10 games. And through those 10 games, you get to see the whole story, but you got to start at the right part.
Can you explain that all again?
In the right moment is Metal Gear Solid 3. If you want the full experience, now they got trophies. Now Peace Walker has trophies, and Spec Ops doesn't have trophies, but they say it's a really good game. And then Metal Gear Solid 3 has trophies. So if you get the HD collection for PS3, just play Metal Gear Solid 3 and then play Peace Walker.
Right. And that'll at least get you caught up
Right.
to be on right up to Ground Zeroes and then the Phantom Pain.
Right, that'll get you caught up in the story. Spec Ops is when Big Boss starts recruiting people for his like Foxhound unit. So you'll get to see like Chico, and you'll get to understand like who he is and all that stuff. But yeah, that's the chronology of the series, which makes it kind of makes the Zelda timeline kind of looks more discombobulated than this. It is
Actually, yeah.
and is rightly so. And the Metroid timeline is a bit more straightforward, but still, they take steps forward and they take 5 steps back. They take a step forward and then it's like 10 steps back. But Kojima really did a number on it. I mean, I wouldn't have released Metal Gear Solid 3 as Metal Gear Solid 3. Why not just release? He could have just released. He could have just done this. He could have just done this. Metal Gear Big Boss or something like that, or Metal Gear Boss.
But yeah, isn't that technically like the biggest twist in the story, that you find out that you're not playing a Snake at the end?
No, because you're totally in 1960.
That's true, yeah.
And
it can't be.
and they tell you like, Snake, your mission is this and that, and then it's not Colonel Campbell that's there. It's like another weird dude.
Yeah, so you're like, yeah, it's like it can't be.
It's Big Boss from the beginning.
And you see, and that's the weird thing, because they say that same thing in Ground Zeroes.
Mm-hmm.
In the trailer for Ground Zeroes, it's like, oh yeah, it's like your Snake, your body. They actually say to Snake over the radio, yeah, you still move pretty quick even in your old age.
Mm.
But it's like, what do you mean your old age? It's 1980, or it's whenever Ground Zeroes is taking place,
Mm-hmm.
probably in the late 70s.
Yeah.
Because it's not until 9 years after that. Well, we can actually do the math, because it's 9 years after that is 1984.
Mm-hmm.
So that's -4. It's actually 1975 is when Ground Zeroes is happening.
Yeah.
Because then in 1984, when the Phantom Pain is supposed to be happening, that's the whole thing about Diamond Dogs. It's because Kojima even mentioned that in the interview that he did with Jeff Keighley, that the album, the David Bowie album, by the name of Diamond Dogs, actually has something to do with that.
See,
and
I knew it.
It's totally from that year. So I mean, Phantom Pain is actually going to be set in 1984. per Kojima's words.
Yeah, so I knew it. See, the other day I was looking up Diamond Dogs, and first thing that came up was a David Bowie album that was supposed to be released under that name, but
Right, so who knows? But one thing Kojima also said was that the horn that you see on whoever's he is head is not really a horn. He actually said that that's actually like shrapnel and bone coming out of his head presumably from some sort of an injury or something.
shrapnel and bone. Huh, weird because I don't know. But how can okay, he needs to clean up Snake's face a bit because Big Boss in MSX, the MSX version is an old man with an eye patch, but he doesn't have like a horn or he doesn't have like a shrapnel coming out of his face or anything.
Well, yeah, like I don't even know. That's the thing is like you can't tell what's going on, man.
Yeah.
And Kojima don't know what's going on.
Nah, he don't even know.
He doesn't even know. It's like George Lucas pretending like he had planned the first 3 Star Wars first. He's like, you know, you didn't do that, Jack.
Nothing.
You know, for real. But
he bought his daughter a pony so she could drive it behind her Ferrari. Pony's just stumpy, mass of flesh afterwards. But anyway, but yeah. So that's the timeline. That's how you're gonna have to play it if you really want to get the full story. If you just want to jump into Phantom Pain, you still got time to do it, but it's gonna take you like a few months to really get.
I mean, I'm seriously considering just not bothering, but because that's a large investment. Well, I mean, it's not that bad because technically it's just the one HD collection of buying it, playing 3, and then playing Peace Walker, and then being ready for Ground Zeroes. But
yeah, all you need to do is play 3. You need to do just 2 games, 3 and Peace Walker. That's it. You don't really need to do Spec Ops or Acid. Acid is just like if you're like a real hardcore fan and anybody out there who really wants to get into a good series, then go ahead. And you know, Metal Gear doesn't have a lot of cursing, barely has anything like that. There's a lot of suggestive scenes. There's just suggestive like sexual situations, innuendos, things like that. But that can be missed, and then you don't have to really go too deep into that. But it's not like another game. It's not like Uncharted where it's like they drop F-bombs and stuff like that.
They drop F-bombs in Uncharted?
Yeah, in Uncharted 3 they dropped one.
Dang. I didn't play it, so I didn't know. Like I only played the beta that I got into because of.
So it's like I don't like you know Podcast Right Above, we don't really advocate it at all.
We don't advocate the foul languages, ladies.
And it's not something that a game needs. Like you don't need.
Right, it's not necessary. At no point does it ever contribute to the story
at all.
I mean, not like seriously.
It's just you know what it is. It's just to make children who have it's just to make the big kid inside you feel like an adult. That's all it is.
Exactly. It's to make the older 15, 16-year-old teens feel like they're older than 18 or older than 21.
Like, oh man.
And then you just get used to it over years, so you expect it, and then it's not necessary, but it doesn't actually do anything. It's like it's like, you know, sex in movies and stuff. Like it doesn't. People say it can be tasteful. Mm-hmm. Because of context, but sometimes when it's not, it's not. It's like it doesn't actually add to the experience whatsoever.
It's like if in Arkham Asylum and in Arkham City, like it was like Batman drops the F-bomb every now and then. That doesn't. I mean, he has all the rights to
make it a total joke.
Yeah, it would just be, but he'll be like.
I can just see it now. Batman's in like the Batman VR costume. He's like, man, help this bro. Standing on the roof. He's like, man, I'm tired of this mess. I gotta go out here every night and see these fools. I can't go home. Alfred don't be cooking meals warm anymore. I gotta put them as in the microwave. I'm sick of this. Boop.
Yeah.
And he just drops down and like breaks somebody's neck.
Yeah. Well,
it would serve no purpose, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely not. But yeah, so that's it. That's how you played Metal Gear Solid. I think that's the best way. How I started of course, you know, and I didn't know. So I mean, and nobody knew. So when MSX version came out, you know, I didn't know how to play those games until later on when I was older and I figured out that it's a sneaking game. It's not a game to it's not a game to run around shooting people and like trying to get like the Rambo complex. Those games you cannot be, and like it's like with all the Metal Gear, you can't go running gun. It's like a sneaking infiltration, and then the points where you have to fight, then they give you like extra ammo and stuff. But it's not solely just a Rambo game. Well, I started with Metal Gear Solid for PlayStation. I played that one, and then I went back to the MSX ones again, and I was like, okay, those are great. Don't pick up the NES version. Solid Snake and
Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid for NES. They completely changed it for the American game, and they made it more like a streamlined linear game, and it's horrible. Kojima even says that it's a mockery to his game. And then Snake's Revenge turned out to be some other weird stuff. So don't pick up those two games for the NES. They don't exist. They're like Dragon Ball GT. They're not canon. So
don't talk about that canon. Nothing's canon. Like nothing is ever canon. Like the writers reserve the right to change
anything.
What is canon and what is not canon at any time.
I know.
So I mean, one day there will just be a big blog post that says the entire Dragon Ball Z series from the Saiyan Saga onward is not canon.
Not canon.
It's just done.
This podcast is not canon.